Here is the fully adapted and localized American version of your script. I arrived home, and all my furniture had disappeared. My daughter-in-law, with her arms crossed, said, "We sold everything, Mom. You don't need anything anymore." I sat on the cold floor and smiled, because she had no idea what I had done 3 days earlier. I am Eleanor Vance. I am 68 years old. I have hands that still know how to work, and a memory that neither forgets nor forgives. This story I am about to tell you is not one of those shared over Thanksgiving dinner. It is one of those that you keep in your chest, one that weighs like a stone on your soul until it finds the light, and today, finally, I am going to let it out. If this confession resonates with you, stay until the end, hit the like button, subscribe, and join me in this story. Because what I lived through might save you from making the same mistakes I made, or give you the courage that took me too long to find. It all started on a Tuesday, just an ordinary Tuesday in October, with that gray Chicago sky that always seems to predict a storm. I was coming back from the grocery store with my reusable bag hanging from my arm. I had brought tomatoes, onions, and ground beef. I was going to make the chili that my grandson Leo liked so much. He had just turned 12, had curious eyes, and was the only one in that house who still hugged me without asking for anything in return. When I opened the door, I heard voices in the living room. Laughter. That type of laughter that doesn't include affection, but complicity. I left the bags in the entryway and approached slowly. My son Ethan was turned away, his phone pressed to his ear. His voice sounded different, colder, more calculating. "No, babe. Don't worry. I already spoke to the guy at the nursing home. He says that for $3,000 a month they will take her without a problem. It's cheap, right? And we keep the house. Anyway, it's in her name, but with a power of attorney, we can sell it in 6 months. She won't even notice." My breath cut short, not out of surprise, but because in that moment I confirmed something I had felt in my gut for months. My own son was planning to get rid of me, like someone throwing an old piece of furniture into the trash. Harper, my daughter-in-law, answered something I couldn't hear, but Ethan laughed, a dry, soulless laugh. Yeah, the furniture too. That antique china cabinet must be worth something. And the bookshelf. Tomorrow I'll call the appraiser. The faster we get everything out, the better. I stood paralyzed in the hallway. My hands were trembling. My heart was beating so fast I thought it was going to give me away. But I didn't move. I didn't say anything. I just listened. Ethan kept talking. "The only thing that worries me is if she gets stubborn. You know how she is. But if I tell her it's for her own good, that she can't live alone anymore, that we also need space, she'll understand. Either she goes the easy way, or we make her life impossible until she breaks." I closed my eyes. I took a deep breath, and in that instant, something inside me changed. I wasn't going to cry. I wasn't going to beg. I wasn't going to beg my son to remember who raised him, who stayed up all night when he had a fever, who sold even her grandmother's jewelry to pay for his college tuition. No. I was going to do something much more powerful. I was going to plan. I went back to the entryway without making a sound. I took my bags and walked out of the house as if I had never heard anything. I went to the corner store. I bought a soda. I sat on a bench in the park, and there, watching the kids play on the swings, I began to put together the most important plan of my life. Because you see, my dear viewer, I am not the helpless old lady that Ethan and Harper thought I was. I am Eleanor Vance, the widow of an engineer who left me well insured. I am the woman who worked for 30 years as a bookkeeper for 3 wealthy families in the Gold Coast. I am the one who saved every dollar, every penny, because I learned as a child that money doesn't scream, it whispers, and it is only heard by those who know how to keep quiet. In my bank account that nobody knows about, I have $240,000. In a safe that nobody has seen, I keep my mother's emeralds, valued at $80,000, and in my head, I have more experience, more cunning, and more dignity than all the cheap ambition of my son and his wife combined. But they didn't know that. And that, my dear friend, was going to be my best weapon. I returned home 2 hours later. Ethan was gone. Harper opened the door with that fake smile she used when she needed something. "Mom, where were you?" I was getting worried. Liar. "I went to the store, honey. You know, The chili for Leo. She wrinkled her nose. Oh, Mom, better not cook today. Ethan and I are going out, and Leo has homework. We don't want the house smelling like food. I nodded, smiled, and went to my room. That night, while they slept, I took out my old notebook, the one where I kept the household accounts, and began to write. Step 1. Document everything. Step 2. Contact the lawyer. Step 3. Move my valuable belongings. Step 4. Let them act. Step 5. Destroy them with their own trap. Because I am going to tell you one thing, and I want you to remember it well. Revenge is not a dish served hot. It is served cold, calculated, perfect, and I had 3 days to cook it. But what they did in those 3 days, that was what sealed their fate forever. When I heard their plans, I knew I had to act. The next day I woke up before dawn, not because I wanted to, but because the body, when it senses a war, doesn't let you rest. I got up, made coffee in silence, and sat by the kitchen window. Outside, the sky was barely starting to lighten. The city was still sleeping, but I was already calculating every move. Ethan came down at 7:30. He smelled of expensive cologne, the kind Harper bought him at the mall. He looked at me out of the corner of his eye while pouring himself a glass of juice. Good morning, Mom. He didn't even wait for my answer. He took his keys and left. Not a hug, not a question about how I had slept, nothing. Harper appeared half an hour later in burgundy silk pajamas. She stretched like a cat, yawned exaggeratedly, and fixed her gaze on me. Mom, did you eat breakfast? Yes, honey. Just my coffee. She huffed. Oh, Mom, you are always so austere. That's why you're so skinny. She poured cereal into a bowl and sat across from me. Hey, Ethan and I were talking. We want to speak with you later. It's important. I felt a pinch in my chest. Here it came. Of course, honey. Whenever you like. She smiled. But it wasn't a human smile. It was the smile of someone who already has you where they want you. I waited for her to finish her breakfast. I washed the dishes. I swept the patio. Everything as usual. Like the obedient old lady they needed me to be. But in my mind, I was putting the puzzle together. At 11 in the morning, when Harper locked herself in her room to do who knows what on her phone, I went out. I told her I was going to the pharmacy for my blood pressure pills. A lie. I went straight to the office of Mr. Arthur Sterling, my lifelong lawyer. A 72-year-old man, tie always impeccable, voice paused, and a mind sharp as a scalpel. I entered his office downtown. It smelled of old books and freshly brewed coffee. He looked up from his papers and smiled. Mrs. Vance, what a pleasant surprise. Please, sit down. I sat. I crossed my hands on my lap, and I told him everything. Every word I had heard, every plan they had woven against me. Mr. Sterling listened without interrupting. When I finished, he took off his glasses, cleaned them with a handkerchief, and looked me straight in the eye. Mrs. Vance, what you are telling me is serious. Dispossession, fraud, financial abuse. But we need proof. Do you have anything recorded? Messages? Signed documents? I shook my head. Not yet, but I will get them. He nodded slowly. Then here is what we are going to do. You are going to go back to your house, and you are going to act with absolute normality. You are even going to show yourself as vulnerable. Let them believe they can manipulate you. Meanwhile, record everything. Save everything. And when they ask you to sign something, before doing it, send it to me by photo. Is that clear? Crystal clear, Mr. Sterling. He took a folder from his desk. Here I have certified copies of the deed to your house. Everything is in your name. Ethan cannot sell it without your notarized and real consent. Any paper they make you sign without my supervision will have no legal validity. But they don't know that. And we are going to use that ignorance in our favor. He handed me a small phone, an old flip phone with big buttons. This is a disguised recorder. Just press the green button. It records up to 6 continuous hours. Use it when they are talking. Put it in your pocket, on the table, wherever. They will never suspect such a simple device. I took the phone. It weighed little, but in my hands, it felt like a sword. Thank you, Mr. Sterling. Don't thank me yet, Mrs. Vance. This is just beginning. And I warn you, what comes next won't be easy. They are going to hurt you. They are going to humiliate you, but you have to endure. Because every hit they give you will be one more piece of evidence on my desk. Are you ready for this? I took a deep breath. I thought of my husband, of his hands calloused from so much work. I thought of my mother, who died without ever defending herself from my father's abuses. I thought of all the women who stayed silent, who swallowed poison so as not to make waves. And I said, I am ready. I returned home before noon. Harper was in the living room watching television. She didn't even turn around when I entered. You're back, Mom? Yes, honey. I got my pills. That's good. Listen, Ethan is coming in the afternoon. We want to talk to you. Of course. I'll wait for you here. I went to my room. I kept the recorder phone in the pocket of my knitted sweater, the one I always wear, the one that to them was already part of the scenery. And I waited. Ethan arrived at 5. I heard him greet Harper with a loud kiss. I heard their laughter. And then, his steps toward my door. Knock, knock. Mom, can we come in? Come in, son. Both of them entered. Ethan sat on my bed. Harper stayed standing, leaning on the door frame, as if she were blocking the exit. I pressed the green button in my pocket. Mom, we want to talk to you about something important. Ethan used that soft, condescending tone. The one you use with children or with elderly people you think don't understand. Harper and I have been thinking, and we believe it is no longer safe for you to live alone. Alone? But I live with you, son. Yes, Mom, but we work. We go out. We can't be here all the time taking care of you. What if you fall? What if something happens to you and we aren't here? Harper intervened. It's just that we worry a lot about you, Mom. The other day I saw you dizzy, and then you forget things. It's normal at your age, but you need specialized attention. I feigned confusion. I furrowed my brow. Dizzy? I don't remember feeling sick. Ethan exchanged a quick look with Harper. A look that said, see? She's already losing her mind. That's why, Mom. That's why we think the best thing would be for you to go to a place where they take good care of you. A nice place, with gardens, with people your age. You're going to be much better off. A nursing home? Silence. Harper approached. She put her hand over mine. Cold, calculating. Don't call it a nursing home, Mom. It's a residence. With nurses, with activities. You're going to be happy, and we'll visit you every week. Lie. And both of them knew it. I let my voice tremble. But this is my house. I lived here with your father, Ethan. You were born here. My memories are here. I know, Mom, but things change. We need the space. Harper is thinking of setting up a studio to work from home. And honestly, maintaining this house is very expensive. You don't contribute anything financially. It's not fair to us. There it was. The stab. You don't contribute anything. As if 30 years raising him were worth nothing. As if the sleepless nights when he had measles didn't count. As if the mortgage I paid alone after his father died was invisible. I swallowed hard. I nodded slowly. I understand, son. If you think it's for the best. Ethan smiled, relieved. I knew you would understand, Mom. Tomorrow a man is coming to appraise the furniture. We are going to sell what we don't need. And on Monday we'll take you to see the residence. Does that sound good? It sounds good. They left. They closed the door, and I stayed there, sitting on my bed, with the recorder still running in my pocket. I had documented the first betrayal. But I knew the worst had not yet arrived. Because the next day, the appraiser who arrived at my door was not who they thought, and what I discovered froze my blood. My hands had built more than they imagined. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat in the rocking chair that had belonged to my mother, the same one where I saw her grow old in silence, accepting every slight from my father as if it were her destiny. I remembered her wrinkled hands, always busy, always serving, and I swore to myself that my story would not end like hers. By 6 a.m, I was already dressed. Gray dress pants, white blouse, my brown knitted sweater. The same outfit as always, the same invisible Eleanor that Ethan and Harper needed to see. But inside, every gear of my mind was spinning at full speed. I made breakfast like every day. Scrambled eggs with ham, toast, hot coffee. I set the table. The smell of coffee filled the kitchen. When Harper came down, she almost tripped from surprise. "Oh, Mom! You shouldn't have bothered." "It's no bother, honey. It's what I always do." She sat down. She began to eat without saying thank you. Ethan appeared 10 minutes later, tie badly knotted, hurry in his eyes. "Mom, today at 11, the appraisal guy is coming. Please, let him review everything. Don't get sentimental with the furniture. We already talked about this." I nodded. Obedient, submissive. "Of course, son, whatever you say." He left without finishing his coffee. Harper stayed a while longer, looking at her phone, laughing at who knows what. Then she got up, left her dirty plate on the table, and went up to get ready. As soon as I heard her door close, I took out my own phone, the good one. The smartphone I had bought 2 months ago and kept hidden in a Danish cookie tin in the pantry. I dialed Mr. Sterling's number. "Good morning, Mrs. Vance." "Good morning, Mr. Sterling. The appraiser is coming today. At 11. Perfect. Our man will be there at 10:45. Ethan doesn't know you have a real appraiser on your side. Let the fake one put on his show. We are going to document everything." "Understood." I hung up. I hid the phone. I took a deep breath. Because you see, what Ethan and Harper didn't know is that I hadn't spent 30 years working as a bookkeeper just to keep numbers in notebooks. I had learned to read people, to detect lies, to move money without anyone noticing. The families I worked for taught me something valuable. The rich don't shout their wealth. They whisper it, they hide it, they protect it. And I had done exactly that. When my husband Robert died 12 years ago, he left me the house paid off and a life insurance policy of $120,000. People expected me to spend it on the funeral, on mourning clothes, on charity. But no, I invested that money. I put it in a fixed-term savings account that generated interest. And I kept working. For 10 more years, I managed the books for the Miller family, the Rothschilds, and the Turners. They paid me well, very well. And I, instead of showing off, saved. Every dollar I didn't need to survive went straight to that account Ethan never knew existed. $240,000. That was my cushion, my freedom, my dignity in numbers. And then there were the emeralds. My mother gave them to me 3 days before she died. "Eleanor," she told me with a broken voice, "these stones come from your great-grandmother. She hid them from your grandfather all her life because she knew he would sell them for alcohol. Now they are yours. Protect them, and if you ever need to escape, remember they are worth more than any man could offer you." I had them appraised in secret 5 years ago. 3 Colombian emeralds, antique cut, set in 14-karat gold. Total value, $80,000. I kept them in a wall safe behind the painting of the Virgin Mary in my room. Ethan had seen that painting all his life and had never paid attention to it. For him, it was just decoration for a religious old lady. For me, it was the door to my salvation. At 10:45, the doorbell rang. Harper ran to open it. I stayed in the kitchen, washing dishes as if nothing mattered to me. "Good morning. I'm here on behalf of Ethan Vance. Is this the appraisal?" Yes. Come in. I'm Harper, his wife." I heard footsteps, a man with a deep, professional voice. "Nice to meet you. I am David Miller, certified appraiser." But that wasn't the appraiser Ethan had contacted. It was mine. Mr. Sterling had gotten me David, an honest appraiser with 30 years of experience. The plan was simple. David was going to pretend to be the appraiser Ethan expected, but he would keep his real evaluations for us. Meanwhile, he would give Ethan ridiculously low numbers, so he would fall into his own trap. I peeked out discreetly. David was a man of about 50, thick glasses, leather briefcase. Harper guided him through the living room, pointing at furniture with disdain. "This bookshelf is very old, and this china cabinet, well, who knows how many years it has. We just want to know how much we can get for everything." David nodded, took out a notebook, began to take notes. He approached the mahogany china cabinet, the same one my husband had bought at an auction 30 years ago. He ran his fingers over the carved wood, checked the bronze hinges, opened the doors carefully. "Interesting," he murmured. "How much is it worth?" asked Harper, anxious. David made a calculated pause. "Approximately $1,200, maybe $1,500 if you find the right buyer." "Lie. That cabinet was worth $18,000. Harper smiled. Perfect, David continued. He checked the walnut bookshelf. $800. Real value, $9,000. The dining table, $700. Real value, $6,000. The living room set, $1,000. Real value, $12,000. In total, he told Harper that all the furniture together was worth about $4,500. The real figure was $68,000. Harper was euphoric. Oh, great. I thought it was going to be less. I'm going to tell Ethan. David packed his things, glanced at me as he left, and nodded slightly. Mission accomplished. As soon as he left, Harper called me, shouting from the living room, "Mom, come here!" I went, slowly, as if the years weighed on me. What happened, honey? The man already appraised everything. He says we can get like $5,000 for your furniture. Not bad, right? With that, we pay for 2 months of the residence where you're going to be. Fair. That word echoed in my chest like a funeral bell. It's fair. Yes, honey, it's fair. She patted my shoulder. You'll see you're going to be better off. We are going to use this house to live more comfortably. You already completed your cycle here. Your cycle? As if I were an old washing machine, as if my life had an expiration date and they were the owners of the calendar. I smiled. I nodded. And I went to my room. I closed the door. I took out my phone, sent a message to Mr. Sterling. Everything recorded, fake appraisal documented, next phase ready. His reply arrived in seconds. Perfect. Tomorrow we move your belongings. Be ready. I looked around. My room. The walls that had seen my marriage, my widowhood, my tears, my laughter. The furniture I had chosen with love. Photos of Ethan when he was a child, when he still hugged me without asking for anything in return. And I knew that tonight would be the last I would sleep in this room as the woman I had been, because tomorrow I would begin to become the woman I needed to be, the one who doesn't beg, the one who doesn't let herself be walked over, the one who takes back what is hers, even if she has to rip every piece from the hands that tried to steal it. They treated me like trash, and I let them do it. Friday dawned cloudy. One of those days where the sky turns the color of cement and the air smells of rain that never arrives. I woke up with my body aching, not from age, but from tension. Every muscle in my back was tight as a guitar string about to snap. I went down to the kitchen. Ethan was already there, drinking coffee directly from the pot, without even pouring it into a mug. When he saw me, he didn't even say good morning. Mom, some buyers are coming this afternoon to see the furniture. Harper posted everything in a Facebook group. There are already interested people. So fast, son? Yes, the faster the better. Oh, and I need you to sign this. He took a folded paper from his back pocket and tossed it on the table. It's an authorization so we can sell the things in the house. Pure formality. I took it with trembling hands. It was a document printed on a computer, full of legal words that seemed important but said nothing. Mr. Sterling had warned me, if they make you sign something, take a picture first. Don't sign anything without me reviewing it. Let me read it calmly, son. You know, without my glasses, Ethan huffed. Oh, Mom, there's nothing weird. Just sign. I'm in a hurry. Give me a moment. The print is very small. He hit the table with his palm. The sound made me jump. Sign it, I tell you. I don't have all day. Or what? You don't trust your own son anymore? Harper appeared at the door, in a robe, hair messy. What's happening? Why the yelling? Your mother-in-law doesn't want to sign. She approached. She looked at me with those eyes that simulated sweetness but hid poison. Mom, don't be suspicious. Ethan just wants to help you. We are doing this for your own good. Oh, do you prefer to stay here alone when we leave? I swallowed hard. I took out my old phone, the one they thought was just for calls. Let me take a picture of the paper. For my files. You know, my memory doesn't work so well anymore. Ethan rolled his eyes. Fine, whatever you want, but sign at once. I took the photo, sent it by message to Mr. Sterling, and signed, with shaky handwriting, like a scared old lady. Ethan snatched the paper from my hands before the ink dried. Done. Now you can go do whatever it is you do all day. Whatever it is you do, as if my existence were a void. As if the 68 years I had been in this world meant nothing. They both left. The door closed with a dry slam. And I stayed there, standing in the kitchen, surrounded by the smell of coffee that no one had offered me. My phone vibrated. Message from Mr. Sterling. That document has no legal validity. It's trash, but keep it as evidence of coercion. Are you ready for tonight? Ready. I put the phone away. I cleaned the kitchen. I swept. I mopped. I did all the housework like an automaton. And I waited. At 3 p.m, the first buyer arrived. A woman of about 40, with expensive sunglasses and a designer bag. Harper received her as if she were her best friend. Come in. Come in. Look, this is what is for sale. The china cabinet, the bookshelf, the dining table, the living room set. The woman began to review everything with professional appraiser eyes. She touched the wood, checked the corners, opened drawers. When she reached the china cabinet, she whistled softly. This is authentic mahogany, and the carving is artisanal. How much are you asking? Harper, who had no idea of the true value, said proudly, $1,500. The woman tried to hide her surprise. $1,500? For the whole cabinet? Yes. It's a good price, right? The buyer pretended to think about it. It has some scratches. I'll give you $1,200. Harper accepted without blinking. Deal. I was sitting in a corner of the living room, invisible as always, observing, recording everything with the phone in my pocket. The woman approached me. Excuse me, ma'am, are you the owner of these things? Before I could answer, Harper interrupted. No. She is my mother-in-law, but she is very elderly. We make the decisions now. The buyer looked at me with something resembling pity. I just lowered my gaze. Like a defeated old lady. I see. Well, I'll take the cabinet. When can I come for it? Tomorrow if you want. They made the deal. The woman left, and Harper danced around the living room like a girl with a new toy. $1,200, Ethan. And that's just the first sale. Ethan arrived at that moment. Harper told him everything excitedly. He smiled, hugged her, kissed her, and neither of them turned to look at me. I went up to my room, closed the door, and began to pack. Not everything, just the essentials. The most important photos, documents, my husband's letters, the locket with a lock of my mother's hair, the emeralds, of course. Everything that had sentimental and real value. At 10 p.m, when Ethan and Harper were already sleeping, my phone rang. Message from David, the appraiser. Truck on your street in 15 minutes, back exit. My house had a door that led to the back alley. Nobody used it. It was half rusted and squeaked when opened. But that night, that door was my salvation. The movers arrived on time. 3 strong, silent, efficient guys. I opened for them, and in less than an hour, they took everything out. My personal boxes, the dresser from my room that had belonged to my grandmother, the cedar chest where I kept the hand-knitted blankets, the antique mirror my husband gave me on our 20th anniversary, everything. The team leader handed me a paper. Here is everything inventoried, ma'am. It's going to the storage unit, Mr. Sterling indicated. Nobody is going to touch anything. Thank you. They left like ghosts. I closed the back door. I went back to my room. Now it was almost empty. Only the bed, the painting of the Virgin Mary, and a couple of worthless things remained. I sat on the edge of the mattress, and for the first time in 3 days, I cried, not from sadness, but from rage, from indignation, for all the times I stayed silent, for all the humiliations I swallowed, for all the years I gave without asking for anything in return. I cried until I had no tears left, and then I dried my face. I took a deep breath, and I reminded myself who I was. Eleanor Vance. Widow, mother, bookkeeper, survivor, and now strategist. Because the next day, when Ethan and Harper woke up and started emptying my house, they were going to discover something that would destroy them. But they didn't know it yet, and I was going to enjoy every second of their confusion. I gave them the leading role. In their own ruin, Saturday dawned with a strange silence. One of those silences that weigh, that predict a storm. I got up early, as usual. But this time my room felt different, emptier, lighter, as if I had left behind a weight I had been carrying for too long. I dressed with special care, flowered skirt, button-down blouse buttoned wrong on purpose, mismatched slippers, hair not combed well. I wanted to look neglected, confused, vulnerable, because today began the most important performance of my life. I went down to the kitchen, dragging my feet. Ethan was already there, checking his phone. When he saw me, he frowned. "Mom, why are you wearing different slippers?" I looked at my feet as if I just realized. One slipper was brown, the other blue. "Oh, son, really? I just don't see well anymore. Every day it's harder for me to remember things." He exchanged a look with Harper, who had just entered. A look that said, "See, she's getting worse. Perfect. Mom, sit down. I'll pour your coffee." Harper used that condescending tone used with small children. I sat. She put a cup of watery, cold coffee in front of me. She hadn't even bothered to heat it. "Thank you, honey." I took a sip. Horrible. But I smiled. Ethan stood up. "Mom, today more buyers are coming. And a truck to take away what we already sold. There's going to be movement. Stay in your room, okay? We don't want you to get confused or sad." "Can I stay in the living room? I like watching people." "No, Mom, to your room. It's for your own good." For your own good. Those 4 words abusers use to justify anything. I nodded like a rag doll. "Okay, son." I went up to my room. I closed the door, but not locked. I left a crack open. And from there, with my phone recording in my pocket, I heard everything. At 10, the first truck arrived. I heard men's voices, heavy steps, furniture being dragged, my china cabinet, my bookshelf, the dining table where I had celebrated every Christmas for the last 40 years. Harper directed the operation like a war general. "That table goes to the truck. Careful with the corners." "Ethan, did they deposit for the living room set yet?" "Yes, $500. It's done." $500 for a living room set that was worth $12,000. I kept listening. Every sale was a theft, every transaction a scam, but I didn't say anything. I didn't do anything. I just recorded. At noon, when they had already taken almost everything, I heard someone coming up the stairs. Heavy steps. Ethan knocked on my door. "Mom, are you okay? Do you need anything?" I opened. I looked at him with glassy eyes as if I were about to cry. "Son, did they take the furniture already?" "Yes, Mom. I told you we were going to do it. But that furniture is mine. Your dad bought it for me." He sighed, that sigh of annoyance he had perfected in recent months. "Mom, we already talked about this. You don't need it anymore. We do need the money. We are in debt. We have expenses. You can't be so selfish." Selfish! He called me selfish for wanting to keep the little I had left. I let my shoulders sink, let my voice break. "You're right, son. Forgive me. I am a burden to you." For a second, I saw something in his eyes. Remorse. Guilt. But it went out as fast as it appeared. "You're not a burden, Mom. Just, you need to understand that things changed. You're not the same as before." He left, and I closed the door. I took out my phone. I stopped the recording. I saved it in the evidence folder that already had 16 audio files, 16 documented stabs. I sat on the bed. I looked around. My room was almost naked. Only the mattress, the Virgin Mary painting, and an old lamp remained. Everything else had been taken without asking me. And then I did something they didn't expect. I went down. I walked toward the living room with slow steps, dragging my feet. Harper was there, counting wads of bills on the table that still remained. "Mom, what are you doing here? We told you to stay upstairs." "It's just that. I feel very lonely. Can I sit with you for a little while?" She huffed. "Oh, fine. But don't get in the way." I sat on the floor. Yes, on the floor. Because there were no couches anymore. Harper looked at me with contempt. "Why are you sitting there? You look like a beggar. There's nowhere to sit anymore, honey." Ethan entered at that moment with a cardboard box. "Mom, here are some of your things. Photos, old clothes, little things. On Monday, when we take you to the residence, you take them." I opened the box. It was debris. Clothes I no longer used, torn photos, a rosary without beads, trash. "Thank you, son." He saw me there, sitting on the floor of my own house, surrounded by empty walls and sold memories, and felt nothing. "Well, Mom," Harper and I are going out to dinner. There's leftover chicken from yesterday in the fridge. Heat that up." They left. I heard them laugh as they got into the car. I heard them drive away, and when silence invaded the house again, I got up from the floor. I dusted off my skirt. I fixed my hair, and I smiled, because I had just obtained the last piece of evidence I needed. The photo of me, sitting on the floor of my own house, after they sold everything without my real consent. I sent the photo to Mr. Sterling with a message. "Is it enough?" His answer came in seconds. "More than enough. This is financial abuse, dispossession, and psychological violence. On Monday we file the lawsuit. Are you ready for the final phase?" I looked around. The empty house, the spaces where there was life before, the echo of my steps resonating on walls that no longer recognized me. And I wrote, "More than ready." That night I slept on the bare mattress, without sheets, without blankets, because they had taken those too. But I didn't feel cold. I felt power, because I knew something that Ethan and Harper completely ignored. Everything they had sold wasn't the important stuff. The important stuff was safe in a storage unit, and the most important of all was behind the painting of the Virgin Mary in the safe they had never discovered. The emeralds were still there. The documents were still there. My dignity was still there. And on Monday, when they took me to that nursing home believing they had won, the most devastating counterattack of their lives was going to begin. Because one thing is to sell an old lady's furniture, and quite another is to steal the life of someone who knows how to fight, and I was ready for war. While they celebrated, I moved my pieces. Sunday dawned with an aggressive sun that sneaked through the curtainless windows. Because yes, they had also sold the curtains. Harper said they were out of fashion and someone could make better use of them. She sold them for $30. They were imported linen that cost $800. I got up aching, sleeping on a mattress without sheets, directly on the plastic protector, had left my body numb. But I didn't complain, not even when I went down and found the kitchen a disaster. Dirty dishes in the sink, crumbs all over the table, sticky floor. Ethan and Harper had gone out for breakfast. Of course, why eat in an empty house with a bothersome old woman? I took advantage of their absence. I took out my phone and called Mr. Sterling. "Good morning, Mrs. Vance. Today is the day." "I know." "What time?" "At 2 in the afternoon. The truck will arrive at the back exit. They are going to take everything that remains. The mattress from your room, the Virgin painting, the safe, everything. And you go with them." I felt a lurch in my stomach. "I go? Where?" "To your friend Margaret's house. She already knows. She waits for you with open arms. You are going to stay there until we solve this legally. Are you ready?" I looked around. The dirty kitchen, the empty living room, the spaces that previously contained my life and now were just holes. "I'm ready." "Perfect. One more thing, Mrs. Vance. I need you to leave a letter, something that looks like a farewell. Let them believe you left of your own free will to your friend's house, confused or scared. That gives us an advantage. They will think you fled like a disoriented old woman. They won't suspect the real plan." "Understood." I hung up. I sat at the table and took a sheet from an old notebook I found in the junk drawer. With trembling handwriting I wrote, "Ethan, I'm going with my friend Margaret for a few days. I need to think. This house no longer feels like my home. Forgive me for being a burden. Mom." Short, simple, heartbreaking. I left it on the kitchen table, held down by a salt shaker. Then I went up to my room. I opened the safe behind the Virgin painting. The emeralds shone under the sunlight. I took them with trembling hands. I wrapped them in a silk handkerchief and put them at the bottom of my purse. The most important documents, too. House deeds, birth certificates, my original will. I closed the empty safe. I left the painting in its place. At 2 o'clock sharp, as they had promised, I heard the truck engine in the alley. I went down the back stairs. I opened the rusty door that squeaked like a wounded cat. David was there, along with the same 3 movers from the other night. "Mrs. Vance. Last load. Are you sure about this?" "Completely." They entered like shadows. They went up to my room. They brought down the mattress, the Virgin painting, a broken lamp, the trunk that was in the closet, everything that remained with my essence. In less than half an hour, my room was completely empty, empty like they wanted it. One of the men held out his hand to me. "Ma'am, it's time to go." I took a deep breath. I looked for the last time at the walls of that room, the place where I had mourned my husband's death, where I had sewn Ethan's clothes when he was a child, where I had prayed so many nights asking that my son grow up to be a good man, and where now I understood that prayers don't always have the answers we expect. I went out. The truck smelled of old wood and cardboard. I sat in the passenger seat. David started the engine. "Are you okay, Mrs. Vance?" "Yes, just take me to Margaret's." He drove in silence through the neighborhood streets. We passed in front of the market where I bought vegetables, in front of the bakery where Ethan asked for donuts when he was little, in front of the church where I had baptized my son. Everything looked the same, but I was no longer the same. We arrived at Margaret's house 30 minutes later. She lived in Lincoln Park, in a small but cozy apartment. When she opened the door, she said nothing. She just hugged me, and there, in her arms, I allowed myself to feel everything I had been holding back. The pain, the rage, the betrayal. "There, Eleanor, it's over. You're safe here." The men brought my things up to the apartment. Margaret offered them coffee. They left with silent gratitude, and then, sitting in her living room smelling of cinnamon and freshly brewed coffee, Margaret looked me in the eye. "And now what follows?" I took out my phone. I opened the recordings folder. 19 audio files, photos, documents, evidence. "Now comes justice." Margaret smiled. "Your son doesn't know who he messed with." "No, he doesn't know." That night I slept in the bed in Margaret's guest room. Clean sheets that smelled of lavender, soft blankets, fluffy pillows, and for the first time in months, I slept without fear. Because the next day, when Ethan and Harper returned to the house and found my letter, when they looked in my room and saw it completely empty, they were going to think I had fled, that I had escaped like a scared and confused old woman, that they had won. But what they didn't know is that I wasn't fleeing. I was repositioning, like the chess player who sacrifices a pawn to prepare checkmate. And Monday morning, Mr. Sterling was going to file the lawsuit. With every recording, with every photo, with every document that proved the dispossession, the abuse, the manipulation. I woke up at midnight. I couldn't sleep. I went to the kitchen. Margaret was there, drinking chamomile tea. "Can't sleep?" "No. Thinking about tomorrow." She put her hand over mine. "Eleanor, what you are doing is the right thing. Your son needs to learn that respect is not negotiable, that mothers are not disposable." "I know, but he's still my son. And it hurts. Of course it hurts. Love doesn't turn off from one day to the next. But love without respect is poison, Eleanor. And you've swallowed enough." She was right. I went back to bed. This time I did sleep. Deeply. Without nightmares. And I dreamed of my husband. He was saying something I couldn't hear. But his expression was clear. Pride. Because tomorrow, Monday, when Ethan opened my bedroom door and found it empty, when he read my letter and believed he had won, the most precipitous fall of his life was going to begin, and I was going to be there to see it. When I saw their faces, I knew the play had begun. Monday dawned with a brutal clarity. One of those mornings where everything looks too sharp, too real. I got up at 6. Although I didn't have to wake up early. Margaret was already in the kitchen, making coffee and toast. "Did you sleep well?" "Better than I expected." My phone vibrated. Message from Mr. Sterling. "Good morning. Lawsuit filed at 8 a.m. Documents in order. Now we wait. Ready for the next phase?" I replied. "Ready." Margaret sat across from me. "And what is the plan for today?" "Today, I'm going back." She almost spit out her coffee. "What? Are you crazy? I thought you were going to stay here until this was resolved. And I am going to stay, but first I need to go back. I need to see their faces when they find me there, in the empty house. I need them to know I didn't run away scared, that I am not the confused old lady they believe." Margaret shook her head, but smiled. "You are a warrior, Eleanor. Your husband would be proud." At 10 in the morning, I took a taxi back to my house. The journey felt eternal. Every stoplight, every corner, every street reminded me of the life I had built and was now defending. I arrived at 11, The street was quiet. Ethan's car wasn't there. Perfect. I took out my keys. I opened the front door, and I entered my own house as an intruder. The silence hit me first. That silence that only exists in places that have been emptied of their soul. My steps echoed on the tile floor. There were no rugs. There was no furniture. There was nothing. I walked toward the living room. Empty. Only the marks on the walls remained where the paintings had hung. Rectangles lighter than the rest of the paint, like ghosts of what was. The kitchen. Some dishes that weren't worth selling. A wobbly table they had left because nobody wanted it. I went up the stairs. Every step creaked. I reached my room, completely empty. The walls naked. The scratched wooden floor where my dresser had been. The window without curtains letting in a cruel light that exposed every imperfection, every trace of what they had ripped out. I stayed there, standing in the center of the empty room. And I waited. I heard the car engine at 12:30. Voices. Laughter. The front door opening. And with the money from the sale, we can go to Cancun in December. I already have the hotel looked up. It was Harper, her voice full of excitement. First, we have to take her to the nursing home and close that chapter. Later, we'll see about the trip. Ethan sounded tired, steps going up the stairs. I'm going to check that the old woman didn't leave anything of value hidden. Harper entered my room first, and she froze, because there I was, sitting on the floor, in the center of the empty room, legs crossed, hands on my lap, smiling. "Hello, Harper!" She let out a scream. She backed up so fast she tripped over her own feet. "Ethan! Ethan, come here!" My son appeared running. When he saw me, he turned pale. "Mom, what are you doing here? You left a letter. You said you were going with Margaret." And I did go. But I'm back. Harper regained her composure, although her voice still trembled. "Why are you sitting on the floor like a crazy person?" I got up slowly. I dusted off my skirt. I looked at both of them with a calm I didn't know I possessed. "I am sitting on the floor because you sold everything, even my bed. Remember?" Ethan approached. "Mom, we already talked about this. It was necessary. On Monday we take you to the residence and I am not going to any residence." Silence. Harper was the first to react. "What do you mean no? Everything is already arranged. We already paid the enrollment with the money from your furniture. My furniture that you sold without my real consent." Ethan huffed. "You signed the paper, Mom. You signed it yourself." "I signed a paper with no legal validity. A paper you printed on your computer. A paper my lawyer already reviewed and declared null." The words fell like bombs. Harper backed away. "Lawyer? What lawyer?" I took out my phone. The good one. The smartphone they never knew I had. I opened the recordings folder. Mr. Arthur Sterling, my lawyer for 20 years. The same one who this morning filed a lawsuit against you for dispossession, fraud, and financial violence. Ethan laughed. But it was a nervous laugh, without conviction. "What are you talking about, Mom? Lawsuit? Are you delirious?" I pressed play on the first recording. His voice came out clear from the speaker. "No, babe, don't worry. I already spoke to the guy at the nursing home. He says that for $3,000 a month, they will take her without a problem. It's cheap, right? And we keep the house." Ethan turned white as a sheet. Harper tried to snatch the phone from me. "Give me that!" I stepped back. "I don't think so. I have 19 more recordings, all documenting every word you said, every plan, every humiliation." Ethan let himself fall against the wall. "Mom, we just what, Ethan? Just wanted to get rid of me? Just wanted to steal my house? Just wanted to sell everything your father and I built together?" Harper pointed a finger. "You manipulated us. You set a trap for us." I smiled, and that smile was what scared them the most. "No, honey. You set your own trap. I only documented what you were doing. And now you are going to face the consequences." I took an envelope from my bag. I extended it to Ethan. He took it with trembling hands. He opened it. Inside was a copy of the lawsuit, page after page detailing every abuse, every illegal sale, every act of dispossession. "You have 48 hours to return every dollar you obtained from the sales, $68,000. That is the real valuation of the furniture you sold for $5,200. Ethan almost fainted. "68 what? No, no. The appraiser said they were only worth $4,500. That appraiser was mine. He worked for me. He gave you fake numbers so you would fall for your own greed. Harper began to cry. Not from sadness, from rage. This is insane. It's our word against yours. I held up my phone. No, it's my evidence against your stupidity. 19 recordings, photos, messages, signed documents, all in the hands of my lawyer, and since this morning, in the hands of the judge. Ethan slid down the wall until he was sitting on the floor, just like me moments before. But he wasn't calculating. He was collapsing. Mom, please. I am your son. You can't do this to us. I crouched down in front of him. I looked him straight in the eye. And in that moment I saw the boy he had been. The boy who hugged me when he had nightmares. The boy who told me, I love you, Mom, every night before sleeping. But that boy had died, and the man in front of me had chosen greed over love. Yes, I can, Ethan. And I am doing it, because you taught me something very important. Respect is not given freely, it is demanded. And I got tired of begging for the crumbs of your affection. I stood up. I walked toward the door. I stopped at the threshold. Oh, one more thing. This house is in my name. Always was. And you have 48 hours to vacate it, because justice doesn't always arrive fast, but when it arrives, it doesn't forgive. And I just opened the door for its arrival. I showed them who I really am. And their world collapsed. I didn't move from the threshold. I wanted to see every second of their reaction, every gesture, every choked word. Because after months of being invisible, of being treated like one more piece of furniture that was in the way, I finally had their complete attention. Ethan stood up with difficulty, as if his legs wouldn't respond. Mom, wait. We have to talk about this calmly. You can't kick us out like this. Where are we going to go? The question floated in the air like smoke. Where were they going to go? The same question they never asked about me when they planned to send me to that $3,000 a month nursing home. That, son, is a question you should have asked me 3 weeks ago, when you decided I no longer deserved a place in my own house. Harper wiped her tears with rage. She was no longer crying from sadness, but from contained fury. This is abuse. You are a cruel old woman. You know what? I'm glad we wanted to get rid of you. Her words should have hurt me, but there was no room left for more pain. There was only room for the truth. Say what you want, Harper, but remember that every word of yours is also being recorded. Every insult is additional evidence. So, please, continue. My lawyer appreciates the collaboration. She shut her mouth instantly. Ethan approached with slow steps. His eyes were red, hands trembling. Mom, do you really have enough money to pay a lawyer? To fight this legally? I thought that. Thought what, Ethan? Thought I was a poor old woman? Thought I depended on you? I took out my phone again. This time, I opened my banking app. I showed him the screen. His expression changed from confusion to absolute shock. $240,000. That is my current balance. Savings from 30 years of work. Your father left me insured. I invested every dollar intelligently. But I pretended to be poor to see who you really were when you thought I had nothing to offer you. Ethan stepped back as if I had hit him. No, it can't be. Why not? Because I'm old? Because I'm a woman? Because I was kind? Harper was pale. Her lips moved, but no words came out. I continued. I couldn't stop now. 30 years of silence had built a dam that finally broke. I worked as a bookkeeper for the richest families in the Gold Coast. The Millers, the Rothschilds, the Turners. Do you think they paid me poorly? They paid me excellently. But I didn't show off. I didn't spend. I saved. Because my mother taught me something you never learned. Money doesn't scream. It whispers. And it is only heard by those who know how to keep quiet. I opened my bag. I took out the silk handkerchief. I unwrapped it slowly. The 3 emeralds shone under the light, coming through the curtainless window. Green like the sea, ancient like family secrets. And this comes from my great-grandmother. Colombian emeralds, valued at $80,000. I kept them for years, hoping to leave them as an inheritance for you, Ethan. So you would know you came from strong women, from women who survived. I took the stones between my fingers. I let them fall, one by one, back onto the handkerchief. The sound was heavy, definitive. But you are not going to inherit anything anymore, because it's not about the money. It's about the fact that you treated me like trash, and trash is not left an inheritance. Ethan fell to his knees. Mom, please. I made a mistake. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. We were desperate. Debts were drowning us and I. And you thought the solution was to rob me, strip me, humiliate me? It wasn't robbery. We just needed $68,000, because that is the real value of what you sold for $5,200. That is the amount you are going to have to return. Harper exploded. We don't have that money. We already spent it. The car, the credit cards, the trip we planned. Then you are going to have to get it, or face criminal charges for dispossession and fraud. Mr. Sterling was very clear. You have two options: return every dollar you stole, or go to jail. Ethan looked at me as if I were a stranger. I can't believe you are capable of this, of threatening your own son with jail. I crouched down until I was at his height. I put my hand on his cheek. He shuddered. I couldn't believe you were capable of selling me like old cattle either. But here we are, son, discovering what we are capable of when pushed to the limit. I stood up. I put the emeralds in my bag. I walked toward the stairs. Wait. Harper's voice sounded different, colder, more calculating. If you have so much money, why didn't you help us when we told you we had debts? Why did you let us suffer? I stopped. I turned around. Because you never asked me for help, Harper. You asked me to disappear. There is a huge difference between, Mom, we are in trouble. Can you give us a hand? And useless old woman, go to a nursing home so we can sell your house. One asks for support, the other demands sacrifice. Silence. If you had come with humility, with respect, with love, I would have sold even my great-grandmother's emeralds to help you. But you came with betrayal, with contempt, with plans made behind my back. I went down the stairs. They followed me, stumbling desperately. Mom, wait. Mom, please. I reached the front door. I opened it. The fresh afternoon air hit my face. You have until Wednesday at 6 in the evening to vacate this house. After that, the police come with a court order, and you have until Friday to deposit the $68,000 into the account Mr. Sterling is going to send you by email, or face criminal charges. Ethan clung to the doorframe. We don't have that money, Mom. We can't get it in 2 days. It's impossible. Then sell the car. Sell the things you bought with my stolen money. Borrow it. Do whatever. Because I did the impossible for 68 years. I worked, I saved, I survived, and you can do the same. I left. I walked down the sidewalk without looking back. Mom! Ethan's scream resonated through the whole street. Some neighbors stuck their heads out the windows. Mrs. Peterson, the lady from across the street, looked at me with something resembling admiration. I kept walking. My legs were shaking. My heart beat so fast I thought it would explode. But I didn't stop. Not until I reached the corner. Not until I saw the taxi I had ordered waiting for me. I got in. To Lincoln Park, please. The driver nodded. He drove off. And only then, when the house disappeared from my view, did I allow myself to cry. Not from sadness, from liberation, because I had just done the hardest thing of my life. Choosing myself, and although it hurt as if they had ripped my heart out, I knew I had done the right thing. My lawyer had everything ready since day one. I arrived at Margaret's house with swollen eyes and an exhausted soul. She opened the door before I knocked, as if she had been waiting for me since I left that morning. Come in, Eleanor. I made you chamomile tea. I said nothing. I just entered. I let myself fall onto her sofa like a sack of potatoes. She put the steaming cup in front of me and sat beside me in silence. Because Margaret was one of those friends who understands that sometimes words are unnecessary. I drank the tea. It burned, but the physical pain was welcome. It distracted me from the other pain, the one that has no name or easy remedy. How did it go? She asked finally. I told them everything. They saw the recordings. I showed them my bank account, the emeralds, everything. And? Ethan collapsed. Harper exploded in rage. And I left before I regretted it. Margaret squeezed my hand. You did the right thing. Why doesn't it feel like the right thing? Because love doesn't turn off just because someone betrays you, but that doesn't mean you should keep letting yourself be trampled on. Self-love is also love, Eleanor. And you had forgotten it. She was right. As always. My phone rang. Mr. Sterling. Mrs. Vance. How are you? Tired, but whole. Glad to hear that. I have news. The judge reviewed the lawsuit this afternoon. The evidence is so solid he authorized immediate precautionary measures. The eviction order is ready, and we froze Ethan and Harper's bank accounts to ensure they don't squander the money they have left. I felt a lurch in my stomach. You froze their accounts? That's right. Until they pay the full debt, $68,000 plus legal expenses, which already total $5,200 additional dollars. Total, $73,200. The number floated in my mind like a heavy stone. Mr. Sterling, that is going to destroy them. There was a pause on the other end of the line. Mrs. Vance, with all due respect, they tried to destroy you first. What they reap is what they sowed. But if you want to stop this, we are still in time. It is your decision. I closed my eyes. I thought of Ethan as a child, his laughter, his hugs. I thought of the nights I spent awake when he had a fever. I thought of all the love I gave him without measure, without condition. And then I thought of his voice saying, "You don't contribute anything financially. It's not fair to us." I opened my eyes. We don't stop anything. Let them pay. Until the last dollar. Understood. Wednesday at 9 in the morning is the eviction. Do you want to be present? Yes, I want to be there. Perfect. I'll pick you up at 8:30. I hung up. Margaret looked at me with a mixture of pride and concern. Are you sure about this? No, but it has to be done anyway. The next 2 days were strange. Living at Margaret's house was comfortable, but it wasn't my home. I slept well, ate well, but there was a hole that nothing filled. That hole left by family betrayal. Tuesday night my phone rang. Unknown number. I hesitated, but answered. Mom? It was Ethan. His voice sounded broken, desperate. What do you want? Mom, please. They froze our accounts. We don't have money to eat. We don't have money for gas. Harper is hysterical. Please, stop this. Let's talk. We can fix things. Something in my chest squeezed. That maternal instinct that doesn't understand justice, only protection. Ethan, it was a mistake, Mom. I know. I'm sorry. But I don't deserve this. I don't deserve to end up on the street. I didn't deserve to be sold like cattle either. I didn't deserve to sleep on the floor of my own house either. I didn't deserve to be told I didn't contribute anything either. Silence. Mom, I was desperate. Credit cards, loans. They were drowning me. I didn't think straight. But I am your son. Does that not count? It counts. That's why I didn't send you straight to jail. I gave you the opportunity to pay, to do things right. I don't have $70,000, Mom. Nobody is going to lend me that amount. What do you want me to do? I want you to sell the car you bought with the money from my stolen furniture. I want you to sell the giant TV you showed off on Facebook. I want you to borrow, to beg, to do the impossible. Like I did the impossible for years to give you everything you needed. You are a heartless woman. The words hit me like a slap. Maybe. But I am a heartless woman with dignity, something you lost the day you decided to betray me. I hung up and blocked the number. Margaret was at my bedroom door. Are you okay? No, but I will be. Wednesday dawned cold. Mr. Sterling arrived on time at 8:30. I got into his car, a dark sedan, smelling of leather and coffee. Good morning, Mrs. Vance. Ready? No, but let's go. The journey to my house was silent. When we arrived, there was a patrol car parked in front. 2 officers waited by the door, and there was a moving truck. The truck? I asked. They are going to take their things out. The little they have left. The house gets sealed until they pay the debt. I got out of the car. My legs were shaking. The officers knocked on the door. Harper opened. She had deep, dark circles, greasy hair, wrinkled clothes. When she saw me, her eyes filled with pure hate. There's the witch. Happy, right? Destroying your own family. One of the officers handed her a paper. Ma'am, this is the eviction order. You have 1 hour to gather your personal belongings. After that we will seal the property." Ethan appeared behind her. He looked worse. Gaunt, defeated. "Mom, are you really going to do this?" I clutched my bag to my chest. "It's already done, Ethan." They entered the truck. They began to take things out. Clothes, some boxes, the screen Ethan had bought, Harper's laptop, everything piled carelessly on the sidewalk. Harper cried while taking out her things. All for a crazy old woman, all for someone who should already be dead. The officer looked at her harshly. "Ma'am, watch your language or I'll arrest you for contempt." She shut her mouth, but her eyes threw daggers at me. An hour later, everything was out. The officers sealed the doors with official tape and padlocks. They put a legal notice on the entrance. Property under judicial seizure, no access. Ethan stood on the sidewalk, surrounded by his scattered belongings, looking small and lost. "Mom, where are we going to go?" The question I asked them weeks ago. That, son, is something you should have thought about before. Mr. Sterling touched my shoulder. "Mrs. Vance, it's time to go." I nodded. I began to walk toward the car. "Mom," I stopped. I didn't turn around. "What, Ethan? Do you still love me?" The question pierced me like a spear. I turned around. I looked at him. My son, my only son, the boy I had carried, raised, loved with every fiber of my being. "Yes, I still love you. That's why I'm teaching you this lesson. Because limitless love is not love, it is self-destruction. And I got tired of destroying myself for you." I got into the car. Mr. Sterling drove off. In the rearview mirror, I saw Ethan fall to his knees on the sidewalk, Harper by his side, shouting something I could no longer hear. And for the first time in months, I felt I could breathe. Because justice is not revenge, it is balance. And finally, after so much time tilted toward pain, the scale began to level. I recovered my life. And they learned that respect is not negotiable. 3 weeks passed. 3 weeks that felt like 3 years. I lived at Margaret's house, surrounded by her warmth and herbal teas, but with my heart divided between the justice I had demanded and the love that still hurt. Mr. Sterling called me every 2 days with updates. Ethan sold the car. He got $20,000. Harper pawned her jewelry. Barely $6,000. They asked friends, family for loans. They are gathering it little by little. Every piece of news was a soft blow. Because although they needed to learn, seeing them suffer didn't give me joy. It only gave me confirmation that I had made the right decision, even if it hurt. On Friday of the 3rd week, Mr. Sterling arrived at Margaret's house with a folder in his hands. "Mrs. Vance, I have important news." I sat down. Margaret made coffee and stayed with us. Ethan and Harper gathered $50,000. They sold everything of value they had. The car, the furniture they bought, the screen, the jewelry. They also borrowed from Harper's parents. 50,000? That's missing 23,200. I know. And they know it. They came to my office yesterday. He opened the folder. He took out a handwritten letter. The handwriting was Ethan's. Shaky, desperate. "Mom, I have no words to explain how sorry I am. I know I lost your trust. I know I hurt you in unforgivable ways. I don't ask you to forget. I only ask for a chance to prove to you I can change." We gathered $50,000. It is all we have. We sold everything. We are left with nothing. But I understand it is not enough. I propose something. Let us pay you the rest in monthly installments. $1,000 a month. For 23 months, we are going to work. Both of us. In whatever is necessary. But we will pay you every last dollar. And if you give me permission, I want to come see you. I want to apologize to your face. I want you to look in my eyes and know it is true. Your son who loves you, even though he didn't know how to show it, Ethan. I folded the letter with trembling hands. What do you think, Mr. Sterling? Legally, we can keep pressuring until they get everything. But humanly, I think they already learned the lesson. The decision is yours, Mrs. Vance. As always, I looked at Margaret. She had tears in her eyes. You know what you have to do, friend. I closed my eyes. I took a deep breath. I accept the monthly installments, but with conditions. Mr. Sterling took out his notebook. Tell me, first condition. They sign a legal promissory note for the remaining $23,200. If they fall behind more than 2 months, the debt becomes fully due and criminal charges return. Understood. Second condition. Ethan and Harper take family therapy, the 3 of us, with me, for 6 months. If they want to regain my trust, it has to be with real work, not just money. Excellent. Third condition. My house stays in my name. When I die, if Ethan has demonstrated real change, he can inherit it. But while I live, nobody gets me out of there again. Of course. And fourth, my voice broke. I want to see my grandson. Leo is not to blame for anything. I want to recover that relationship. Mr. Sterling smiled. I think Ethan is going to like that very much. Do you want me to summon them to sign the agreement? Yes, but not in your office. In my house. I want them to sign there, in the place they tried to take from me. 4 days later, the doors of my house opened again. The officers removed the seals. Mr. Sterling supervised while a cleaning company restored order. And I, with Margaret's help, began to bring back my things from the storage unit. The mahogany china cabinet, the walnut bookshelf, the dining table. Every piece of furniture returned to its place, as if they had never left. But something had changed. I had changed. On Tuesday, at 4 in the afternoon, the doorbell rang. I opened. Ethan was there, without Harper, just him. And next to him, Leo. My 12-year-old grandson looked at me with confused eyes. Grandma, I knelt down. I hugged him. And I cried as I hadn't cried in months. My beautiful boy, I missed you so much. He hugged me back. Me too, Grandma. Dad told me you were sick. Are you better now? I looked at Ethan over Leo's head. He had red eyes. Yes, my love, I am better now. Much better. They entered. Ethan walked with his head down, like a beaten dog. But there was something different in him. Something broken, and at the same time more real. Mr. Sterling was in the living room with the documents. Harper arrived 10 minutes later. She didn't look me in the eye. They signed everything. The promissory note, the therapy contract, the visitation agreement with Leo. When they finished, Mr. Sterling put the papers away. This is official. The first payment of $1,000 is due on the 1st of next month. Ethan nodded. It will be there. Mr. Sterling left. Leo was exploring the house, excited to see it fixed up again. I was left alone with Ethan and Harper in the living room. Are you going to say something? I asked. Ethan collapsed. He fell to his knees in front of me. Mom, sorry. Sorry for everything. I was an idiot, a bad son, a horrible man. I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I ask for it on my knees. Harper, with a barely audible voice, said, I am sorry too, Mom. I let ambition carry me away, stress, things that don't justify what we did. I looked at both of them. Destroyed, humiliated, but finally aware. I don't forgive you yet. Forgiveness is earned, but I give you the opportunity to earn it. Month after month, therapy after therapy, action after action. Ethan looked up. His cheeks were wet. Can I hug you? I hesitated, but nodded. He hugged me like he hadn't done since he was a child, with force, with need, with something that looked like true love. I won't fail you again, Mom, I swear. I hope so, son, because there won't be a third chance. They left half an hour later. Leo gave me another hug at the door. Grandma, can I come on Saturday? I want you to teach me how to make chili. I smiled. Of course, my love, on Saturday, we make chili. When they left, I closed the door. I leaned against it and looked at my house, with my furniture, with my memories, with my dignity restored. Margaret came out of the kitchen with 2 cups of hot chocolate. Well, how do you feel? Tired, sore, but complete. We sat in the living room, on the sofa I had recovered, surrounded by furniture that had survived the attempted robbery. Do you think Ethan will really change? Asked Margaret. I don't know. But it is no longer my job to fix him. It is his. I can only control my actions, and I chose justice with compassion, not revenge, but not weakness either. She toasted with her cup. To you, Eleanor Vance, the woman who learned to defend herself without losing her humanity. I clinked my cup against hers. To the women who got tired of keeping quiet. That night I slept in my own bed, in my own house, surrounded by my own things, and I dreamed of my husband. This time I heard what he was telling me. I am proud of you. The following months were of reconstruction. Ethan and Harper paid every monthly installment on time. The therapies were difficult, full of tears, shouting, uncomfortable truths, but little by little, something began to heal. We didn't go back to being the family we were. That was impossible. We became something new, more honest, more fragile, but more real. Leo came every Saturday. We cooked together. I told him stories about his grandfather. I taught him to sew a button, to balance a checkbook, to save his allowance. And one day, while mixing the dough to make biscuits, he asked me, "Grandma, why did you do that to my dad?" I stopped. I looked at him. Because sometimes, my love, the people we love need to hit rock bottom to learn how to fly. Your dad was drowning in bad decisions, and I had to let him sink so he could learn to swim. And did he learn? He is learning, and that is enough. A year passed. Ethan finished paying the full debt. He delivered the last check in person, with Harper and Leo present. "Here it is, Mom, the last payment." I took the check, looked at it, and tore it up in front of them. "What?" Ethan was stunned. "You already paid enough. With money, with humility, with work. Consider this a gift, not because you deserve it, but because I choose to give it to you." He cried. Harper cried. Even Leo had glassy eyes. "Thank you, Mom. Don't thank me. Just be the man your son needs you to be. And the son I now know you can be." Today, 2 years after that horrible day when I arrived at my empty house, I am sitting in my rocking chair, the same one my mother sat in, knitting, with Leo doing homework at the dining table. Ethan and Harper come to dinner on Sundays. It is not always easy. Sometimes there is tension, but there is respect, and that is all I need. My great-grandmother's emeralds are still in the safe, but now Leo knows they exist. And he knows the story of the women who kept them, the silent warriors who survived. My house is full again, not only of furniture, but of life, of healthy boundaries, of love that doesn't ask for self-destruction in return. And every night, before sleeping, I look at the painting of the Virgin Mary and whisper, "Thank you, for the strength, for the justice, for the courage to choose myself." Because in the end, I learned the most important lesson of my life. Respect is not negotiable, dignity is not for sale, and self-love is not selfishness, it is survival. If you made it this far, to the end of my story, let me ask you something. Have you ever had to choose between love and respect? Have you had to set boundaries for the people you love most? Write in the comments where you are watching from. Tell me if this story touched something in you. Hit like if you believe dignity is worth more than comfort. And subscribe to keep listening to stories of women who refuse to be invisible. Because we are not alone, and our voices, when finally raised, can move mountains. I am Eleanor Vance. I am 70 years old, and I finally learned that true wealth is not in what you possess, but in what you do not allow them to take away. Until the next story, may it be with your head held high and your heart at peace. The end.